It is one of those days that firefighters dread. Wildfires forced several communities to evacuate tonight, including an entire town. The same winds pushing those flames are keeping firefighting aircraft grounded, yet firefighters are still making progress.
Tonight, our crews are talking with firefighters standing ready to help, and we're watching the dangerous conditions set to come back tomorrow. But first, we want to get to the latest on the historic indictment of former President Donald Trump.
He will be the first president or former president to ever face criminal charges. Tonight, Colorado's Republican leaders are standing by Trump. Democrats are saying that the rule of law means that nobody is above being held accountable. The president's lawyers say they expect he will be arraigned on Tuesday. Specific charges are still under seal. We know that they're related to hush money payments made to two women before the 2016 election, including porn star Stormy Daniels. Both women claim that they were paid to be quiet about affairs they had with Trump.
The Democratic DA in New York was focused on whether Trump or his team broke the law by arranging the payments or covering them up. Tonight, the former president is calling the indictment a witch hunt. His lawyers say he has not committed a crime.
If anything, the criminal indictment is causing Colorado Republicans to support Trump even more strongly, as Democrats express trust in the judicial process. 9 News reporter Cole Sullivan's along now with what Colorado's political leaders are saying about this.
Kyle, Representatives Jason Crow and Diana DeGette, both Democrats, said online that this indictment shows no one is above the law. That's the same message we're hearing from state party leaders as well. The outgoing chair of Colorado's Democratic Party says the news of the charges came as a relief to her.
The reason it's such a relief is that the behavior that Donald Trump has done in this case in particular, but others, is frankly things that would have landed many of us regular people in jail a long time ago.
Many Republicans, on the other hand, are warning of a slippery slope. Republican Rep. Doug Lamborn from down in the Springs says it risks normalizing charges against presidential candidates. 9 News Republican political analyst Kelly Maher argues the indictment has opened a Pandora's box.
If we set the precedent that this is the standard by which a former president can be indicted, then all of a sudden, that is the new precedent. That's the new standard, and that's what we will continue to see.
We reached out to half a dozen lawmakers to ask for interviews tonight. Kyle, we expect to hear more from all of them in the coming days as this process plays out.
Cole Sullivan, thank you. Tina Peters, the former Republican county clerk now under indictment for election tampering, says that both she and Trump are being persecuted in addition to being prosecuted. Peters, who we learned today has been offered a formal role with the state Republican Party working on election integrity, told me that the indictment against Trump is a Democratic plot to weaken him. What do you think the chances are that you and or Donald Trump are in prison a year or two from now?
Well, I'll tell you, if I thought I was going to prison, I would probably be on the beach somewhere, but relaxing. It's just like with Donald Trump's indictment. My indictment has nothing to do with the facts.
Trump had previously warned of death and destruction if he faces charges. I asked Peters who she believes would be doing the killing and the destroying in that scenario described by Trump. Peters said she didn't know because Trump supporters are, quote unquote, people-loving people. The former president is still facing criminal investigations as well in Georgia and Washington, both tied to his efforts to overthrow democracy and stay in power after the 2020 election.
Returning now to the wildfires threatening homes in southern Colorado tonight. People in Park and Teller counties still can't go home. The fires burned more than 1,000 acres since it started about 11 this morning. Firefighters say it spread northeast from County Road 403, getting close to the Teller County line. Neighborhoods on the western edge of Florissant are still under evacuation orders tonight. No word on containment or how this fire started. Now, out in southeastern Colorado, the whole town of Simla had to evacuate today, threatened by a fast-moving fire. It's burned more than 700 acres. It's about 1 square mile. Firefighters say crews cleared a border of 25 feet around Simla to protect the town, and that worked. The fire hasn't burned any buildings. It's 96% contained tonight. Firefighters all over the state have been pretty busy. 9 News reporter Jennifer Meckles live at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, where they quickly got a handle on a small fire. And Jenny, we can hear that wind whipping behind you.
Yeah, Yeah, it comes and goes, Alex, at this point in the night. We're on the west side of the arsenal, so Quebec and 70th in that area. This is a pretty small fire, and they got it out pretty quick. About 6 acres total, and crews stayed on scene for a little bit doing some mop-up work tonight. They have a fire investigation team they've ordered to come over tomorrow. It has been a long day of bad fire conditions. Fire teams anticipating trouble. In fact, West Metro Fire even sent a wildland crew to help with those efforts down in Simla. And that same group, West Metro, they've been on something called level 2 of their preparedness today, which means basically any call they go on, even if it's just like an ambulance call or a house fire, they're sending their brush truck just in case.
It's a beautiful Colorado day, sunny and warm and way too windy for fire conditions. Definitely a concern for people in the wildland world like we are.
You could even call it crunchy conditions, if you're asking firefighters like Mike Wooster.
Pretty crunchy, pretty dry. We've had a lot of moisture this year, but we haven't reached green up.
He's part of West Metro's wildland firefighting team.
As a brush truck, we carry kind of the timber equipment, so we have a whole lot of stuff with chainsaws and saw packs.
Packed and ready to roll, brush trucks even tagging along to calls right now.
Brush truck follows to all the normal calls, to the grocery store, to the training events, to whatever would normally be just an engine and maybe an ambulance if there's one in the station. Now we're taking the brush truck so that it's close, it's right there in the hip pocket, and if we get an incident here in the district, we're ready to respond.
And watching as fire after fire pops across the state. In Teller and Park County, near Simla, too, a brush crew from West Metro even went to help there.
Both of those are fast moving. There's concern for how fast that they're moving, and air resources are still not, 100% available this time of year.
Days like these, anxiety runs high in Colorado.
Especially this time of year, we're just coming out of the winter and just after the 1-year anniversary since the Marshall Fire. That's been stuck in people's heads for the entire year since that fire.
So I asked Rocky Mountain Arsenal if there was any structural damage, none that they know of, but they may have some fence repair work to do after responding to that fire. We're getting like little breaks of the wind at this hour, certainly better than it was earlier today. But my colleague Danielle Grant's going to join us now because that wind is not done for the week, not even close.
I know, Jenny. I wish we could catch a break, but unfortunately, the winds will be back tomorrow, and so will the red flag warning. So high fire danger still the biggest headline for us as we look ahead toward the end of the work week. Around the Denver metro area and then to the south, stretching across the eastern plains tomorrow, yet again, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts coming our way. The difference about tomorrow is the fact that we'll see these winds out of the northwest rather than the southwest, as what we saw today and even this evening. Strong westerly winds plowing across the foothills into the metro area, 20 to 30 mile per hour speeds. Still pretty strong toward Colorado Springs, Trinidad. Maybe a brief lull this evening, only to pick back up again tomorrow. It really is a tale of two sides of the mountains. This afternoon, we were dealing with dust storms and incredibly strong wind gusts here in eastern Colorado. Up in the mountains, they've been dealing with heavy snowfall, as well as some pretty good winds coming through, some blowing and drifting snow on the higher mountain passes. Snowfall continuing to come down, and we have winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings that will continue through tomorrow afternoon as the storm system bears down on Colorado. Overall, about 4 to 8, 5 to 10 inches of snowfall coming our way. Fierce winds back on tap for us yet again tomorrow. As we look ahead toward the weekend, we do have once again a nice little warm up on the way, but the winds will be back too. Plus next week, a bit of a switch up. How about some snow? I'll break it all down in my 7-day forecast in about 10 minutes.
The owner of the LGBTQ nightclub where a shooter killed 5 people last November has to show up in court tomorrow. The suspect's defense attorneys filed a subpoena against the owner of Club Q. They're asking the owner to bring nearly 2 years worth of surveillance video from Club Q going back to February of 2021. Last month, defense attorneys for the suspect told a judge the suspect had visited the club several times in 2021 and 2022, as well as in the hours before the shooting.
More than 2 years after the attack on the U.S. Capitol, feds are still making arrests. Another Coloradan's facing charges tied to the insurrection. Investigators arrested Jonathan Grace from Colorado Springs today. He was picked up in Denver. Investigators say Grace was part of the crowd of rioters pushing Capitol police officers, pitting them between their shields and a door. Grace is facing charges for engaging in violence on Capitol grounds. He's one of more than a dozen Coloradans who have faced charges tied to the attack on the Capitol. More than 1,000 people total have been arrested for their actions on that day.
been a rough day for I-70 near Idaho Springs. The eastbound lanes were shut down for more than 3 hours today. A semi-truck blew a tire and ended up blocking the whole side of the highway. The truck spilled fuel as well, so a hazmat team had to come help clean up. Last night, the same side of the highway had a bit of a juicier problem. The pickup truck crashed, spilling a ton of oranges and mangoes onto the road. Nobody was hurt in this other than the fruit. The driver of the truck was cited for careless driving. Apparently, Japan is the place to be this week. If you're an elected leader in Colorado, first Denver's mayor went. Now the governor's globetrotting.
Doc, 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 doc. I got it on my phone. You want to hear it?
That is the sound of one of America's most popular sports. And neighbors are fed up.
We'll meet some rare lizards from southern Colorado with a very human problem.